But then I said, okay, I'm going to go to the scriptures and let the scriptures prove it. Now, first thing everybody in their dog, cat, and gerbil will do is send you Isaiah 40:22. Isaiah 40:22, the circle of the earth. Okay, I've used the exact same one myself. I used to teach creation science. I used to use the materials of Dr. Carl Baugh and was it Henry Morris and Ken Hovind. I mean, all these guys, I used to use their material to create curriculum to teach high school level Sunday school creation science classes. Okay, I've used that scripture myself. So 2 months ago, I would have been Isaiah 40:22 guy myself. Until you start looking into the scriptures, man, and there's a hermeneutic, a law of biblical interpretation that you learn when people try to teach you how to study the scripture, of the law of first mention, or the first usage. And that basically is, however a word or a concept idea is introduced, it forms the precedence for how it is to be understood later. Well,
Right.
the law of first mention, Isaiah is like one of the last, if not the last guy to describe the earth that way. So when you go back to Job, which many scholars believe is the first written text of scripture predating the Torah, and you read what Job has to say, you read what Moses has to say, you read what Solomon has to say, what David has to say, and everybody prior to Isaiah, you're not going to get a spinning ball out of it. You're just not. And if you look up the Hebrew word, it's chug, C-H-U-G, I think is the way we pronounce it. It's circle. Well, I mean, this is a circle.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a ball. Now, this is also round, but it's not a ball. We have a round table, a round table discussion. It is circular and it is round, but it is not a ball. Well, Isaiah knows the difference between ball and circle because he uses the word for ball, which is dur. It's a totally different Hebrew word, in Isaiah 22:18. So clearly, before he writes about the earth, he understands the difference between a circle and a ball, because he uses a Hebrew word for ball in Isaiah 22 and the Hebrew word for circle in Isaiah chapter 40. So now all of a sudden I'm scratching my head. This is where I'm really kind of hooked. I mean, I was already intrigued by the videos that Mark Sargent put out. I was even more intrigued when I looked into the photographic evidence, which really isn't photographic evidence. And then when I got to the scriptures, man, I was in a quandary, because if you watch our Quest for Truth shows, Doug Hamp and I always talk about how you take the Bible literally. It's our source for truth. This is our touchstone. We weigh everything else by the scriptures. And now every single thing I looked at in the scriptures is telling me the earth is not a spinning ball. And now I've got a problem because I believe in the spinning ball. But the scriptures consistently describe the earth as fixed, not moving, on pillars, under a dome enclosure, within which, and this is what really got my attention, the sun, moon, and stars are contained inside the same firmament that the earth appears in Genesis, in the creation account. And I don't know how many times I've taught this, the creation account and the creation science stuff, even in my Yahuwah Triangle series back in December. I go through this whole thing. The usual model that creationists will talk about is as a canopy theory, that the earth was surrounded by a canopy of basically ice. But if you go back and read Genesis, it doesn't say that. In fact, the word firmament is rakia, I believe, is the word, and it means beaten down metal, like brass, to the point of highly polished brass, like a looking glass or a mirror. It's metal. And why does it have to be metal? Well, Scripture tells us in multiple places, because Yahuwah's throne is on top of it, which is also in that Isaiah 40:22 scripture, is that he's sitting there on top of the circle of the earth, looking down on us, and we look like grasshoppers. But some of the other prophets describe his throne sitting on top of this thing, this firmament. And I'm going, well, okay, if you go back to the Genesis account, read how he creates this firmament to separate water above from water below. So you got a bubble of air or something, presumably, separating water from above from water below. And inside that firmament that he calls heaven, the dry land appears. And then you got the whole creation account, the first 4 days of the earth doing its thing. And then it says he put the sun, moon, and stars in, not over, above, out, around, but in the same firmament that everything else is contained. Man, I've been in scriptures my entire life, since 7 years old, since I was old enough to read the scriptures practically. I ain't never seen that until all of a sudden I switched sort of I turned the preconceived ideas off, and I realized, man, we do approach the scripture with preconceived biases, and we do everything we can to twist, manipulate, jujitsu, WrestleMania, the scripture into a pretzel to fit our preconceived ideas. But if you just came to the text, and this is what I tried to do, and it's hard. We all got our biases to deal with. But I tried to say, okay, if I've never heard of a globe, I'm going to pretend I don't even know what a globe is. I've never even seen a ball. Would I get that out of the scriptures? And this much I am absolutely convinced of. There's no way that anybody coming to the scriptures without the preconceived notion of a spinning ball would ever get that idea from the scriptures. And so this is why I can't let go. People are like, Rob, move on. Come on. You're losing credibility. You're losing your audience. You're losing your reputation. I got all these people trying to tell me this, and I'm like, you know what? Credibility is the ability to infuse belief into somebody. Truth is truth. I'm less concerned about credibility than I am about truth. If I lose my credibility for going after truth, so be it. Whatever. I want to know what the truth is. So credibility, whatever. I don't care about that. And reputation, I would like to think that I have the reputation of somebody with integrity that says what he means and means what he says and is being honest with the text. And I think I am. As far as I can tell, I am. And everybody that keeps trying to twist and manipulate the scripts to get a spinning ball, I don't think they are. I think they're putting their preconceived ideas on the text. Personally, maybe that's a good place to stop and let you kind of take over from there before I bury myself.